Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today we're going to be reading an article, Star Wars Fans Aren't Arguing About the Mandalorian and It's Weird. Apparently, journalists who are following the Star Wars fandom find it odd that people are actually enjoying The Mandalorian. Now, why would that be? Could it be that The Mandalorian isn't stuffed with agenda politics like every other piece of Star Wars media nowadays? But enough about that. Let's get into this article now, huh? If you have been following the Star Wars for the past 40 years, you'll know that its fans love endlessly debating its various major and minor entries, arguments which sometimes can turn quite hostile, and in the modern era of social media have even spilled over to do active harm to some of the directors and stars of the latest films. Well, those are outright lies. It is not harmful to be critical of people who have done wrong and made bad media. The Mandalorian, the new Disney Plus live-action Star Wars show, the first in history, seems different. While I don't want to say no one is arguing about The Mandalorian in any capacity, the debates here seem relatively minor, as in Episode 4 wasn't quite as good as Episode 2, or The Mandalorian's statement about removing his helmet may go against canon. Generally speaking, however, the main split among Star Wars fans is whether or not you like the show, really like the show, or love the show. It seems to be uniting the Star Wars fan base on a level we have not seen in ages. If you travel back through time, it sure seems like every major live-action Star Wars release has endured either a debate over its innate quality, or if the fan base has been unified, it's because something was outright terrible. Let's take a look. Now, this author is being disingenuous. You see, he goes around speaking how the Star Wars fan base either really likes the show and it unites them, or it unites them in the fact that they really hate it. Now, he's being disingenuous in that he's going to list off a bunch of Star Wars movies and how they have pros and cons to them, but his pros and cons are basically from his own point of view and how he thinks the fan base is full of racists and misogynists, so of course he's going to paint as bad a picture as possible when he tells us his opinions and how he feels about the various Star Wars movies, from the original trilogy to the prequels to the outright terrible Disney movies, but he says they're all right. Solo 2018 was a rare commercial miss in that many fans simply weren't interested in a non-Harrison Ford revisiting of the classic character in a prequel. Solo performed so poorly relative to other releases, it altered Disney's entire plan for Star Wars films going forward. The Last Jedi 2017, I think this is without question the most polarizing film on this list, which had some saying it was a masterpiece and one of the series' best, with others citing as the prime example of the Disney era dismantling what true fans loved about Star Wars. The discourse around this movie soiled the movie itself. It was so severe. See the author's bias towards the true fans with it being air quoted? Because he wants you to think that these guys aren't on the level and you should watch out for them. Basically, he's trying to paint them as the bad guys, as usual. This is the usual tactic that these journalists try and basically propagandize their point of view and try to say they're in the right. Rogue One 2016. I feel like this might be the film that was the least controversial among fans, though many argued it didn't feel like it justified its existence, and some critics felt it got too fan-servicey by the end, with Vader's presence capping off a uniquely bleak ending. That's because Vader was there to sell the movie, and that's the only point in the movie that anyone really likes about it, too, as I've heard, that it had Darth Vader going around killing rebel scum. Well, I imagine that would get the critics up in arms about it. The Force Awakens 2015, though perhaps not as argued about as The Last Jedi, with the first Disney-era film, was certainly controversial all the same, with some believing J.J. Abrams had recaptured the magic of the series, while others thought it was far too derivative of past films. Also, like The Last Jedi, a lot of the pushback comes from debates about social justice infecting Star Wars, which seems to come down to using women and POCs as leads, and little else, and this has been an unfortunate debate point for most new Disney-era productions, regardless of their actual quality. Notice the author uses social justice, women, and people of color in such a way as to paint that anyone critical of them would be racist, even though the inclusion of such themes was forced and that the movie just came off worse for it. I mean, there was nothing there that anyone could really enjoy about it. It was just a bunch of nostalgia and that played on people's love of the original trilogy, and that's all Disney's trilogy is. Revenge of the Sith, 2005, going back another full decade. Most people declared Revenge of the Sith the best of the prequels, yet that was grading on a curve given the quality of the other two. Attack of the Clones, 2002. If most fans agree on anything, it's that Attack of the Clones is probably the worst Star Wars movie by quite a wide margin. The Phantom Menace, 1999. The prequel that launched a million memes. You may have loved it as a kid, but it does not hold up over time for anything but joke viewing or countertakes like, actually the prequels are good, which is far from a universally accepted opinion among fans. Notice the language that these writers always use when describing the prequel trilogy, how they say the Revenge of the Sith is only better than the other two because of the quality of the other movies being worse. But notice how he also says that The Phantom Menace should only be viewed as a joke movie and you should only watch it to make fun of it. Now, I grant you, Attack of the Clones is the worst movie of them, but it was better than, well, massively better than the Disney trilogy, because mainly it didn't rely on nostalgia to sell it. Return of the Jedi, 1983. Even Return of the Jedi divided fans pretty sharply with its Ewok-laden finale, which struck a much lighter tone than the past two films. Empire and A New Hope, I mean, again, not to say no one had any issues with them, but I think most fans are united that this was the series at its best. So now we arrive at The Mandalorian, which after 4 episodes is technically the length of a feature film now and will essentially be 2 of them by the time Season 1 and its 8 30-minute episodes have aired. I would say Return of the Jedi is just as good as A New Hope, but that's only because I think it strikes the same kind of tone as the first movie. A New Hope is better because it's original and was the first in the series, but Empire, being the absolute best of any of the Star Wars films, is the hands-down best movie anything under Star Wars has ever made. Jon Favreau, writer of the series, has created something special here, drawing on pretty obvious influences from old samurai films and westerns, which were in turn the original inspiration for Star Wars in the first place. The Jedi are based on the samurai after all, though here our Ronin is a bounty hunter and the Jedi and Sith are nowhere to be found so far. The show has already created iconic characters just 4 episodes in, with the blank-faced Mandalorian himself voiced expertly by Pedro Pascal, who unfortunately may never get to show his face in the series due to the nature of the character, and of course there's Baby Yoda, the most adorable creation in Star Wars history, but one that isn't dismissed as kid stuff by fans like Ewoks or Jar Jar, who were played for comic relief. Baby Yoda is both too cute to hate no matter how hard your heart, but also incredibly important to the plot of the series and Star Wars lore in general, given how little we know about Yoda's force-powerful species. The show simply works. Its tight runtimes are working to its benefit, allowing its big budget to maximize its effect. Its minimalist cast carries the series, and these little mini-arcs of the Mandalorian saving the day result in many of the best action sequences the series has seen. Even if they're laden with less CGI than their big-budget movie counterparts that actually works to its advantage, I'd argue last episode in particular highlighted how the smaller scale of the show works well when suddenly an ATST, a mech we've seen a million times before, can become the most terrifying thing in the world when the stakes are lower. The Mandalorian is pitching a perfect game so far and has placated a fan base that is almost impossible to please. Can it keep this up? Who knows, but so far so good. I have a few words to say. The author of this article clearly doesn't understand the fact that The Mandalorian works and that Baby Yoda works as well, because Baby Yoda, despite being a comedy character, is important to the series, and the fact that The Mandalorian is free of social justice politics, and because of that, people will actually enjoy watching it. Now, if you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you are still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, read comics that are bad for you, then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it will will do the most good, because YouTube isn't going around promoting their own YouTube creators, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely, it's plug-in time again. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book Scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.